The following use of copyrighted material is for demonstrational and educational purposes. None of the track's uses would make it any way possible for people to be able to pirate the songs using this video. So any copyright claims of infringement or use of material is either false or simply mistaken. Please purchase either a CD, vinyl, cassette, or digital copy of Billie Eilish's When We All Fall Asleep Where Do We Go, either via the Billie Eilish store, on Amazon, on Google Play, on Apple Music, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, or any other platform that Billie has her album on. Thank you for listening, and on with the video.
Billie.
I don't really know what to say right now that's never been said before. And the things that I want to say have already been said about 1,000 times, so I guess I might as well just repeat it. So, at this point everybody already knows about Miss Billie Eilish. She's been blowing up the charts for a long time now, ever since she released her EP, Don't Smile at Me, and her debut album, When We All Fall Asleep Where Do We Go? The latter of which is going to be turning 1 year old at the time of me uploading this video. So in order to celebrate the anniversary of this wonderful album, I thought it would be an amazing idea to do an in-depth analysis video discussing every track that is on this album and the secrets behind it and the story that connects them all together. And at first I thought this would be a short video because of the amount of stuff that would be put into it, but as it turns out, I was wrong. This is going to be one of the longest videos I have ever released onto this channel, so if you want timestamps on each track that I'm discussing and the theory that goes behind it, they'll all be in the description below. But if you did manage to sit through this entire video, I'm proud of you. So, with all that said, let's begin what could be my most favorite video to work on out of any of these videos. Billie Eilish, an album analysis. Before we can even begin on the album's tracks, let's discuss the album's cover. I'm pretty sure you've seen this album cover in public, I don't know, about a few 100,000 times. This creepy cover art was brought to life by the one and only Kenneth Capello, who definitely has made a name for himself in the photography industry by taking hundreds of photos from different artists. Anybody from Lil Yachty to Pharrell Williams to BTS, Mr. Capello over here has taken a photo of them before. There was a lot of other alternative photos that were taken during this, and I recommend you all go check them out because, man, they are beautiful. But I didn't want to just look at the album's front cover, I also wanted to look at the back cover. Yeah, it's kind of sad that not a lot of people care about the back cover so much, even though this is the cover that shows off the track listing, what pretty much makes the album, the album. But as I was saying, the album's back art is minimalistic. It just shows the track listing as well as some of the copyrighted material on the bottom. I also wanted to try to find the fonts that they use for the back cover, and this is what I found. The track list uses the Clobber Grotesque font in what looks to be the demi-bold setting. And the copyright and record label stuff looks to be using LCT Pecan Condensed Light. I know this stuff is definitely not really important to a lot of you. I mean, if some of you find this interesting, well, I'm happy about it. But as somebody who is a graphics designer or has done a lot of graphic stuff throughout their life, I could tell you this kind of stuff is very interesting. The retailed CD copy of the album that you'll find in stores is neon green. And depending on certain stores, it'll either be a default orange, a baby blue, a neon green, or my personal favorite, the glow-in-the-dark one. I know some people have had some problems with the glow-in-the-dark versions, but either they have improved the quality of it, or it's just been the same and some people have had worse situations with it, but either way, I managed to get myself a decent copy of the glow-in-the-dark one.
Holy shit.
The cassette tape releases also were given the same treatment, with there being an orange one, a green one, and a glow-in-the-dark one. No, there isn't any blue one. I think they just skipped it. Actually, no, they didn't. They replaced it with what looks to be a golden colored one. which looks really pretty if you ask me. I should also mention that on December 20th, 2019, Billie released an international deluxe version of the album that includes 3 brand new songs. Well, they're not really brand new, but they're new for this album. When I Was Older, a song inspired by the movie Roma, Just Broken Hearts, and Everything I Wanted. It's a Target exclusive, and not only does it come with the tattoos, stickers, and poster, but it for some reason also comes with the parental advisory sticker. And Billie could probably be the first ever artist I know of that has created an album or song or whatever that has the parental advisory sticker on it, but doesn't really drop any kind of slur bombs other than the word bitch. That's really impressive, to be honest. Unfortunately, this deluxe version isn't in a vinyl format, but I would love to see that come to life soon. Maybe they can have it be a double disc record similar to Thank You Next by Ariana Grande or Fine Line by Harry Styles. So yeah, I think they gave you plenty of options in order to listen to the album. Alright, let's get in on it. The album begins with a track that is named, well, that. I'm assuming because of how dumb it is, they didn't put any copyright protection on it, so I could just play this clip for you all here.
My Invisalign has...
I have taken out my Invisalign.
I have taken out my Invisalign, and this is the album.
Yeah, that's weird. But what's even weirder is the stuff that's behind it. According to an interview with Phineas, Billie's brother and the producer behind this album, he stated that Bad Guy originally was going to open with this track here, and they originally planned on having the album be 13 tracks long. He decided to go against that as he thought people would get annoyed of hearing that opening over and over again when trying to listen to Bad Guy, so he thought it would be a great idea to turn it into a separate track on the album so people could skip it in order to listen to Bad Guy, which to be honest is pretty clever. But what's even more clever is the length of the track. Depending on which source you go to, some people might say the track is 13 seconds long, while others might say the track is 14 seconds long. Both would be clever in their own way, as 13 is not only a superstitious number, but it's also the number of actual tracks that are on the album. And 14 because that's the total of number of tracks that are on the album, including this one. And also, according to Phineas, this was the first thing that they ever recorded before working on the album. Funnily enough, this was one of the songs that SoundCloud limited to the Go Plus subscriptions, even though not only can you hear 90% of it, but the song itself is actually under the preview time limit. I don't honestly know why they made this decision, but whatever, it's here. So now I think it's time we ask the question, how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce this name, this track, in order for people to understand what you're talking about? Well, according to Billie herself, in a video with Amazon Music, the track is just simply titled 7 exclamation points.
A lot of people have asked me how to pronounce the 7 exclamation points. It's just 7 exclamation points.
And she does have a good point about it being called that, as the track is just, well, 7 exclamation points. Well, I think that's all there's need to be said about this track, so let's move on. Holy shit, this song gets played a lot. I'm not even trying to joke about it. This song gets played so many times, it makes her look like a one-hit wonder. Thankfully, the radio has been playing a lot more songs for her, but still, this song gets played so many times, it's almost starting to lose its charm, and it's really making me sad because this song is genuinely great. Alright, aside from that, this is one of the only songs that I actually have the stems for, so I could show you each part of the track. The song begins with a nice kick drum and a bass going on in the background. A lot of people might think this is an 808 bass, but no, this is an actual hand-picked bass. And they put it through a lot of filters to make it sound the way it sounds, and I love it. You also begin to hear Billie humming to the tune in the background, and then the lyrics kick in.
White shirt, now red, my bloody nose.
This lyric is a symbol of change, discussing how Billie is changing her character within the song. And of course, this line is taken literal within the music video.
Sleeping, you're on your tippy toes.
This lyric doesn't really have that much going on with it, but I'm assuming it's supposed to tie in with the fact that this whole album is supposed to be about sleeping or sleep paralysis or something along the lines of that. I mean, the album's cover is literally just her in a white bed.
Bruises on both my knees for you.
According to the Genius lyrics page for the song, this lyric, as far as they could tell, is about how Billie could be begging for something repeatedly. They also said it could mean something else, but I don't want to bring it up here because I need to pay for my house. This is also the part where all these snaps and kicks and the shakers start to kick in, building up for the big drop of the song.
So you're a tough guy, like you really rough guy.
Again, according to the Genius lyric page, the chorus sees Billie equally comparing herself to the man she wants a relationship with. Her description of him ties into the image of the bad boy that any sane father would disapprove of. This doesn't frighten her, however. Instead, she counters by telling him how similar they are.
Make your girlfriend mad type, might seduce your dad type.
This was the most controversial line of the song, especially considering how young Billie was at the time of her writing this. This also tells a little bit more about the boy that Billie wants to be in a relationship with. Especially with the line, make your girlfriend mad tight, meaning the boy is already in a relationship, but is currently cheating on her with Billie. And as far as I could tell, she also wants to go for his father too.
I'm the bad guy.
Duh.
And now here is the most iconic line of the song. And this is also the debut of the most well-known vocal effect for Billie's music, the volume pan. If you don't know what this effect is, it's supposed to be an effect that makes your voice sound jittery by constantly turning the volume on and off over and over again. Either you can pan the volume up and down, you can pan the speakers to left or right, you can do anything you want as long as it sounds like it's jittering. And this is an effect that's been present in a lot of Billie's songs. It's used here in Bad Guy.
Bad guy.
It was also used in Xanny.
I don't need a xanny.
It was even used in You Should See Me in a Crown with that one weird voice at the end of the song. It was used in the opening and the later parts of All the Good Girls Go to Hell.
My Lucifer is lonely.
It was even used in Ilomilo in a more slower tempo. So as you could tell, Billie and Phineas really like this effect. This is also where we get to hear the iconic synth sound that appears after the chorus. Although, it's not actually a synth. According to the stems, this is just a guitar that was put through a muffle effect. And to be honest, I can completely hear it now. Same for this little beat during the chorus that turned out to be from a pedestrian signal in Sydney, Australia. Pretty neat use of sounds, I must say. Plus, this is where we get to hear the inspiration for this song. It was a mix of two different songs, the Plants vs. Zombies theme and the Wizards of Waverly Place theme. Pretty neat how she was able to combine those two together.
I like it when you take control. Even if you know that you don't own me.
Oh dear God, this line is really scary. And I thought the might seduce your dad type line was bad enough. To be fair, this could be some kind of exaggeration thing showing how the bad boy is so bad he'll want to take his partners and treat them like animals. So this is Billie probably mocking him for his actions.
My mommy likes to sing along with me.
This is just a fun little nod to Billie's mother, Maggie Baird, who I'm assuming according to the lyrics was pretty shocked hearing the type of music that Billie and Phineas make. This could also kind of reflect on the teenagers that are starting to get into Billie's music and their parents are freaking out about it, especially with the dark nature that appears throughout this album. Oh, and one last thing before we get to the end. According to the Genius lyric page, the line "bad guy" is a reference to the classic 1983 Al Pacino movie Scarface, where Al's character, Tony Montana, says this line.
Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie. So say good night to the bad guy. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
Oh, and trust me, the retro movie references do not end here. Continuing on with the bad guy line, in an August 2019 Billboard interview, Billie says this about the lyric. It's a weird thing to hear come out of a girl's mouth. I think Nicki Minaj said in one of her songs that she's the bad guy, and I didn't realize that until recently. It's such a cool juxtaposition of that sentence. Why do people resonate with it? I know why I resonate with it, but they're all my own reasons. And in a KIIS FM interview a few months earlier, she says this. It's basically making fun of everyone and their personas of themselves. In general, I feel like you will never catch a bad bitch telling everyone she's a bad bitch. If you're going around all the time saying like, yeah, I'm bad, I'm always breaking rules and doing this and doing that, you're not. I know that because I used to say that, and I wasn't. Bad kids, bad boys, bad bitches, whatever. They do that shit and they don't even know. Anyway, back to the song. So at the end of the song, the beats per minute suddenly change from 135 beats per minute down to 60. It's a neat little change that cuts the listener off. It also teases both the listener and the bad boy character in the song by basically threatening him. Not a lot of songs really do a speed change, and I'm really happy that it's here. It's a very nice way to wrap the song, and I can't really see the song without it. This ending was actually one of the first things that Billie had created using Logic, and it was actually created before Bad Guy itself was made. And so, with all of that, that is all that we have to discuss for Bad Guy. It's a kick-ass song, and it's a kick-ass way to open an album. Moving from Bad Guy to xanny is a very interestingly drastic change, as we are moving from an upbeat pop song to a very slow, jazzy, Frank Sinatra-like song. Brush sticks, upright bass, everything. With the topic of the song discussing going to a party and having your friends become completely different people. Drinking, going to the bathroom constantly, cigarettes in their hands, everything. In fact, the song title itself, xanny, is a reference to the prescription drug Xanax, which is heavily referenced a lot throughout modern music.
I'm off the Xanny.
I did half a Xan, 13 hours till I...
However, even though the song is titled xanny, it's actually going against the use of the drug, primarily misuse. If you've never heard of this drug before, Xanax is a drug that is supposed to be used for those dealing with panic attacks or panic disorders or anxiety. It increases a certain amount of neurotransmitters in the brain, causing a much more relaxed feeling than before. It is a genuinely safe drug if it's used correctly, but not a lot of people use them properly, and thus they could be pretty dangerous. But yeah, that's pretty much what this song is about. It's about Xanax, it's about the misuse of drugs, it's about secondhand smoke, it's about having your friends mistreat you or having your friends be completely different people during parties. It's a pretty sad song, but a lot of people, including myself, can genuinely relate to it. I want to actually discuss the instrumental here before we get to the lyrics because, oh my gosh, this instrumental is amazing. So it starts out pretty slow, it starts pretty smooth with the brushes and the bass. Everything seems to be going pretty fine until a few seconds into the song when all of a sudden, this distorted bass kicks in, not only completely throwing the listener off, but also causing a distortion within the vocals. It's a really neat use of perspective and vocal distortion. And the reason it works so well in the song is because it's supposed to create what secondhand smoke would sound like. It's creating an audible version of secondhand smoke or being in smoke and what it does to your lungs. With the bass being the smoke getting into your face and the distorted vocals being what would happen if that smoke got into your lungs. And seeing it in that perspective really makes you question the people that like to smoke cigarettes and take drugs. After that, we get to hear a piano in the mix, and this is where we get to hear the amazing chord progression they picked for this song. I'm genuinely surprised with how well this chord progression works, and I love the choice of it here. The piano then gets thrown into the mix with the distorted bass, making it even more distorted than before. And all of it leads to an amazing build-up during the bridge, which from first listening can have a numerous amount of emotions flowing through. But what makes it even more emotional is the falling action of this bridge section, where the piano plays down the chords and then stops. It's a really great use of instruments and chords, and I've never really seen a song that came out in 2019 that does this kind of thing before. Not even on the radio. In fact, this song to me feels like an audible version of the Story Mountain. Pretty much everybody was taught this in school, where there's a background, a rising action, a climax, a falling action, and a resolution. The background being the beginning of the song, and the rising action being the distorted bass, for the climax to be the piano added to the mix, and the falling action being the bridge section, with the resolution being, well, the end of the song. Alright, so now let's get to the lyrics. In the video series, A Snippet into Billie's Mind, Billie says this about the lyrics. The day we wrote Xanny, the night before, I had been with a group of my friends and they all got drunk and they were feeling sick, and I wasn't. The first girl that got drunk and started feeling sick, they just held her hair back. Nobody was fazed. It was so weird. I was just like, what? This is normal? That's normal for you guys? Watching my friends become completely not who they were, watching their personalities crumble up and fall, with the opening lyrics questioning her about the use of the drug.
What is it about them?
Here, she's also questioning about the use of the drug and why people are addicted to it so much.
I must be missing something.
She then starts to question if the drug actually works the way it intends.
They just keep doing nothing.
And she then questions those in her friend group why they use it.
Bring ashtrays to the table.
Here, Billie is questioning her friends' use of cigarettes and why they use them every time they sit down to talk. Hence, that's why they are bringing an ashtray to the table.
I'm in the second-hand smoke.
She's now getting into the smoke and she is being forced to take the drug. She refuses it and pushes on. And here, we have somebody asking another person about their Uber rating. Seriously, that's what they said.
Did you check your Uber rating? Wait, like when?
And apparently, it wasn't a stock recording, it was a recording Billie herself made. Hell, there's even an interview Billie had where she says this. In Xanny, in the middle of it, you can hear somebody go, "Did you check your Uber rating?" And then you can hear another voice go, "Wait, like when?" I recorded that on my phone. I was at this girl's house and they were having a ridiculous conversation that was going nowhere. I was like, I have to record this, it's unbelievable. It was such a Valley Girl type conversation. I love them. One of my closest friends was in the group that I was in when that happened. A pretty funny story for such a ridiculous line. Now, the recording is a bit too slow and it'll catch up on YouTube's copyright system, so I have to say these lines myself. Please don't try to kiss me on the sidewalk on your cigarette break. I can't afford to love someone who isn't dying by mistake in Silver Lake. She's stating in this line that she cannot be with her friends anymore if all they're going to be doing is abusing drugs. And that's the best choice to make if you're dealing with people that do that kind of stuff. You can't just let them f you over for their own pleasure, and it really pisses me off when people do that. At the end of the song, Billie recites the lines that were in the beginning, and you can hear her voice just crumbling in sadness.
They just keep doing nothing.
And the reasoning for it isn't just because of the song or the story, but it's also because of the fact that this take was recorded right after the passing of Billie's friend and hip-hop artist ᴉᴉᴉᴉᴉ, also known as XXXTentacion. The line "dying by mistake" could also be a reference to the fact that his passing was not in his control, and it was because of a certain group of people that I do not want to bring up for specific reasons. At the end of the song, we get to rehear the backing vocals that was in the second verse. And near the end, we hear some weird mumbling that's going on in the background. Nobody knows if it's actually somebody saying something or if it's just weird background noise from the vocals, but whatever the case is, it's brought up a lot of attention regarding it. Oh, we're not just done yet, we still got the music video to discuss. In the music video, Billie is sitting in an all-white room with naturally looking brown hair, wearing a white sweater and white pants. People said she did this in order to make herself look like the color scheme of a cigarette, with a mostly white body and the brown top being the cigarette butt. That would make a lot of sense considering that in the music video, there are people that are off screen putting cigarettes on her face, treating her like an ashtray. This sounds a bit far-fetched, but I have a theory that those people, those arms, are her friend's arms putting the cigarettes on her, knowing that all they're doing is causing her pain. It would make a lot of sense given the context of the song. And the smoking that's going on the side of the screens could be a representation of her friends continuously smoking off screen even though she's telling them not to do it. Also notice the fact that she's sitting all alone. meaning she's the only person there that isn't doing anything disgusting like what her friends are doing. They're picking on her, all because she is not wanting to risk her life to have fun. All in all, this is one of the saddest tracks off the album, and it shows Billie's creative nature when it comes to music. I seriously cannot thank Billie and her brother Phineas enough for creating this song and releasing this album discussing the problems of drug use. You Should See Me in the Crown is the first single to be released from the album, being released all the way back on July 18th, 2018, exactly 1 month after the passing of X. The title comes from the BBC television series Sherlock, where according to an interview, both Phineas and Billie thought the line was so, quote, dope, they thought it'd be neat to make a song that had that line in it. And I have a little personal theory that the person she's talking to in this song is the same person that she originally tried to go out with and teased on in Bad Guy. And as you just heard from a moment ago, the song starts off with a knife being dragged. I don't know if this is a sound stock or not, but knowing Phineas's previous productions, I'm assuming the sound was either recorded by him or Billie. It then smoothly cuts to an ambient bass sound that can really shake your speakers depending on the sound system you're listening to the song to.
Bite my tongue, bite my time.
I'm assuming this is supposed to be representing her threatening the world once she gets a powerful enough weapon to take over the world. I mean, to be fair, she is already taking over the world right now, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Fell for these ocean eyes.
This is a reference to the song that originally started her career, Ocean Eyes. It's a pretty neat callback, I must say. But not only is this a reference to that song, but it's also an example showing how much Billie has changed from Don't Smile at Me to When We All Fall Asleep. It's a way of telling the people in the past, hey, if you like the stuff I did then you should see what I could do now. It's a symbol of evolving, much like what we saw earlier with Bad Guy, and how she's progressively changing her image throughout the album. Especially when you can go back and look at her previous interviews. Like, oh my god, she was such a different person 3 years ago than what she is now. And this is where the instrumental starts to build up, and my god, it can leave an amazing impact on you. Like, my god, the sounds that they picked for this are amazing. The chorus then demonstrates what Billie would love to do once the world is in the palm of her hands.
I'm gonna run this nothing town.
She's expressing dominance, she's exploiting fear. And that is exactly what she does in both the vertical video and the Takashi Murakami animated video. Especially in the latter one, because in the opening you see this cute little 3D animated Billie just jumping down all over the world, and as soon as she puts on this black jacket, she becomes this gigantic, disgusting, horrifying monster taking over a city full of rainbow flowers and bloshes. No, seriously, that's what the little stick figures in her promotional art are called, bloshes. Alright, let's get back to the song. So here she's explaining that she's going to make everybody bow on their knees for Queen Billie.
Watch me make them bow one by.
And this is a part where either you can feel unease or you want to jump up and down like a fucking maniac.
Blood on a marble wall.
Oh boy, this lyric has a lot of meaning to it. I can't really explain it in my own words, so I'm just gonna quote the Genius article for this. Counting cards is a card game strategy used to determine whether or not the next hand will give an advantage to the player or the dealer. Casino games are seen as either sleazy or bad luck. White marble is typically a symbol of purity. Blood being spilled on something that is seen as pure or immortal takes away those redeeming qualities. The use of marble wall could also be alluding to her fame, as marble walls are typically seen as luxurious. Both of these metaphors are linked through the act of being wrong or sinful. Someone having power tends to change their personality, having them gain an ego where they believe they can do no wrong.
I don't dream.
I'm pretty sure this is just another lyric alluding to the fact that this album's main theme is sleep. In fact, the kind of sounds that are on this track sounds like stuff you would hear in a sleep paralysis. But we'll come back to this later.
You said, come over, baby. I think you're pretty.
And here is the part where I believe that the person she is talking to is the same person that was in Bad Guy. He's telling her to come to his direction and saying things like she's pretty. She's rejecting it, and she already knew she was pretty at first, but she's saying she'll look even better once the world is hers. Alright, so now that we made it this far, let's discuss the instrumental break, and that weird voice that is said during the break. Just about anyone that has heard that part of the song has tried to ask what that part is saying. Some people got "watch while they all fall," "one spicy mall fall," "watch when I see y'all fall," and either "once you rise you're gonna fall" or "once he rise he gonna fall." Nobody still knows what she's saying, but according to Billie herself, she's not speaking English. I don't know if that's true or not, and I think she's probably just saying that to throw people off, but either way, that part is still going to remain unknown for about a long time. And I'm assuming for about as long as when people are going to find out what the true meaning of Bohemian Rhapsody is. In which case that means it's never going to be found out. Also, this might just be me, but I think the lyrics, "I'm gonna run this nothing town," is supposed to be a replacement for the line, "I'm gonna run this f***ing town." Kinda like how in Copycat, the final lyrics were, "Copycat trying to cop my glamour, why so sad but he can't have mine." But in the original lyrics, they were going to be, "Copycat trying to cop my glamour, f*** all that bitch, you can't have mine." I think they had to change that lyric in order to get past the censors. Kinda like how the deluxe version of the album has the parental advisory sticker on it, even though the only swear word that's in it is bitch, with bitches broken hearts. But yeah, this is a pretty nice song that also has a really nice ending that slowly and smoothly guides us to the next song. At the time of me recording this, All the Good Girls Go to Hell is the latest single to be released from the album, being released about half a year after the original album was released. It discusses both climate change and religion. To put this in perspective, the last time she ever put religion into one of her songs was in her tribute song for XXXTentacion 6/18/18, where in that song she says the lyric, "You made me wanna pray, but I think God is fake." And here is where I think the story of this Billie continues on from You Should See Me in a Crown. As we go from a nightmare fuel-inducing monster to a literal fallen angel that was depicted in the music video. In fact, even the music video has a connection to the song Bury a Friend, as it shows the exact same scene of her getting the needles injected into her like in the Bury a Friend music video. And that creates some sort of portal as it is connecting two songs to this specific song here. I could be thinking about this too much, but at the same time, there's a lot of messages throughout this album, so I wouldn't be surprised if I make these kind of connections. I don't really have much to say about the instrumental, but I really love the guitar they put into this. It really makes it sound like a rock song, to be honest. In fact, I wouldn't be really surprised if this song gets put into the alt-rock category. And although I can't really say much about the instrumental, the lyrics, oh boy, I got a lot to discuss about. Let's start off with the opening lyric.
My Lucifer is lonely.
Now, I don't know if a lot of you have ever focused on this or not, but if you've ever watched any cartoon where a person is trying to fight their good or bad side, usually there'd be a tiny little angel on one side and a tiny devil on the other. The Simpsons have done this, Emperor's New Groove has done this. There's a lot of meaning that goes behind it, but simply put, the angel is obviously supposed to be showing the good mindset of the person, and the devil showing the bad side. So what Billie here is saying is that the angel is not on her side, and she's only listening to what the devil is telling her.
Standing there, killing time. Can't commit to anything but a crime. Leaders on vacation, an open invitation.
Another religious reference, this time be directed towards Saint Peter, who's said to be the guardian behind the Golden Gates. And as stated in the song, he is on vacation, meaning that the angels are now vulnerable now that the gates don't have any guardian to protect them.
Animals, evidence. Pearly gates look more like a picket fence.
In this lyric, Billie's saying that heaven isn't as pleasant as everybody says it is, and that the pearly gates not only look like a picket fence, but they are pretty easy to climb over. So if heaven is as beautiful as everybody says it is, why is there no little security?
Hills burn in California.
This is a direct reference to the Californian wildfires that have been going on for the past few years. And I think this wildfire was a main influence to this song because not only was California Billie's home state, but the wildfires were so bad, entrances to California look like gateways to hell. And if you've seen video footage of this fire before, you would know exactly how bad it was. So maybe what Billie is saying is all the good girls, meaning all the main girl female celebrities that had been living in California, aren't actually going to hell, rather going into this terrifying Californian wildfire. And to prove my point even further, in the music video, Billie looks like she's walking around in a normal city only for it to get slowly engulfed in flames throughout the video. And as for the "my turn to ignore ya" and "don't say I didn't warn ya" lyrics, she's saying that the wildfire was a really big problem throughout that time, but it was just ignored by the media until later on when it was an even bigger problem than before. She was already warning everybody about the fires, but nobody really did anything and just lived on with their lives.
'Cause even God herself has enemies.
Again, quoting from the Genius page, and this is going to be very religious by the way, Billie spins the idea of good and evil while playing with biblical imagery of judgment and eternal damnation and salvation. Traditionally, those that find salvation through Jesus Christ are rewarded with eternal life in heaven through Christianity. However, Billie praises the kind of people who don't and who end up in hell instead. From her perspective, while maybe not judged to be morally good, they are indeed the best kind of people. In this opposite heaven-hell dichotomy, Billie also flips the patriarchal, righteous view of God by portraying God as a woman, an idea that has inundated contemporary culture as of this song's release. Months prior, fellow pop star Ariana Grande released her smash hit God is a Woman to much critical backlash and praise.
Walking wearing fetters, Peter should know better.
Fetters are metal clamps that restrain prisoners by the legs, i.e. leg cuffs. They are used in the Bible as a metaphor for inner turmoil. And at the same time, fetters is a homonym for feathers. She is walking in the gateway to heaven wearing feathers when she technically has fetters, if that makes any sense. And in the end, the cover-up, quote, caves in.
Your cover-up is caving in. Man is such a fool, why are we saving him?
In an interview with Saeed Carter, I hope to God I'm pronouncing that right, Billie says this.
Mankind. Okay. It's mankind that's a fucking fool. Why are we working so hard to save mankind when we should really be out here like saving the planet, saving the world, saving animals, you know?
Because basically we're the virus of the world.
We are literally the flu.
Yeah.
We're the flu, and the fucking world is this beautiful place that we're like ruining.
So what she's basically saying is, we are the ones that are causing the problem. And to be fair, a lot of terrible stuff that has happened recently is because of us humans. And dare I say it, even the coronavirus, which is an even bigger problem than the wildfire, was caused by us humans. Because we didn't take care of our planet enough, we didn't take care of our health properly, and now we're all f***ed because of it.
Poisoning themselves now, begging for our help, wow.
In this line, Billie is discussing drinking and substance abuse. And this could be another connection with the previous song, xanny. In fact, I bet the quote, good girls that Billie is talking about could be the girls that were abusing her and drinking and smoking right in front of her in xanny. Meaning she's taking revenge on those that did her wrong. So at the end of the song, we get to hear yet another random message that just appeared out of nowhere.
I cannot do this, snowflake!
According to an interview, this was just a random line that Billie had said because she was trying to crochet a snowflake but couldn't do it. And that line was taken sometime around Christmas. This could be another connection to xanny, as xanny had that weird Uber line that didn't go anywhere. And to be honest, I'm pretty glad they added that there, as it was a nice way to let out some of the unease that was given from this track, which easily ties in to the next track. Despite what the title may suggest, the song isn't what you think it is. Wish You Were Gay is a song about Billie falling in love with a guy, but he ends up rejecting her, so she wishes that he was gay in order for her to have a reason why he rejected her. It's a very neat concept for a song, but it unfortunately caused a lot of backlash and a lot of ridiculous claims saying that Billie is homophobic. Even though I do know a lot of actual LGBT people that wish a person was gay in order for them to be in their community. So, if anything, Billie would have been an ally. In fact, in an old Instagram live session back in July of 2018, Billie said, quote, "That's so not meant to be offensive in any way. It literally means I wish he was gay so that he didn't like me for an actual reason. In fact, you wanna know something funny? Coincidentally enough, after the song was released, it turned out that the guy that rejected her turned out to be gay after all. In a March 2019 NME article, Billie points this out and says, guess what? He just came out to me like a couple weeks ago, so I wrote the song and made him fuck a dude. It's pretty amazing how things turn out, don't they? Alright, let's get back to the actual song itself. So the lyrics for this song are accompanied with the pattern of counting down. 6 words you never understood, 5 words you never say, 3's a crowd, and 2 is us, 1 slipped away. 12 steps just for you, 11 hays, 10 fingers, 9 times, I ate alone at 7, you were 6 minutes away. This is a pretty neat lyrical concept that ties the song nicely. And while, ironically enough, I can't say much about the lyrical side of things, there are a couple things that I would like to point out here. One is the use of random sound effects that are seen throughout the track. According to the Genius page, it says that Billie uses comedic sound bits throughout the track to soothe the listener as she relays a somewhat somber message. The sounds are fair use, free audio effects of audience reactions from sitcoms. Billie wishes her love story was fake like a sitcom narrative. And to be fair, the idea of wanting to go for someone but then turning out to be gay sounds like something that you would hear in an old sitcom like Friends or Seinfeld. And this lyric,
if 3's a crowd and 2 is us,
is obviously based on the line, 2 is company, 3 is a crowd. The one that slipped away is Billie, since her crush finds another lover or just doesn't love her the same way she loves him.
Is there a 12-step just for you?
This lyric references the 12-step program that is used to help people recover from addiction. And while this 12-step recovery system is being used so that Billie can recover from this broken heart, this 12-step program is technically used for substance abuse, which is yet again another reference to xanny.
Our conversations all in blue, 11 haze.
This references the Apple iMessage app, and the conversations all in blue is the blue of being on Billie's side. The sender's texts are in blue and the responders are in gray. So Billie is just texting her crush with the word hey over and over and over again, and they're not responding. In the video series, A Snippet into Billie's Mind, Billie says, quote, if you text somebody hey and they don't respond for 2 days, and you text them hey again and they don't respond, first of all, you shouldn't even have sent the second response, but if you keep going, don't. And the bridge, to spare my pride, to give your lack of interest an explanation, don't say I'm not your type, just say that I'm not your preferred sexual orientation, I'm so selfish, turned out to have been made all the way back in 2017, in which Billie had performed it in a live Instagram stream.
Spare my pride to give you lack of interest an explanation. I'm not your type. Maybe I'm not your preferred gender orientation.
Apparently, Billie had been working on this song for 3 years before she was able to fully release it onto her album. And to be fair, a lot of songs do take a lot of time for them to get official releases. In fact, I'm sorry to say this, but for Michael Jackson, the cover of Come Together, although it got released in his movie Moonwalker, took nearly over a decade for it to get a full release on History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1, which is pretty interesting if you ask me. All in all, Wish You Were Gay is a really great song, and I think it's a really nice transition to our next song. Hey everybody, sorry to interrupt the video so abruptly, but I just wanted to tell you all about what's been going on. I have a feeling that YouTube is going to demonetize me for the certain choices of words even though they are completely safe, and I don't understand why they are doing it, and they are just making their platform a lot more worse for the people that are using it. So if you want to go and support me in more ways, you can go over to my Ko-Fi or Teespring or my YouTube memberships page. Any kind of support or any kind of donation would be really helpful, and it'll also help me continue to make more videos like this. And if more people can help support, I could probably make these videos faster, or I can keep up a more consistent level of quality. So if you want to support me, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please do whatever you can to support the channel. So, with that said, back to the video. When the Party's Over is the song that made me first hear about Billie. And when I first saw the music video, I not only thought it was weirdly beautiful, but it was incredibly emotional at the same time. And I've never had a music video do that to me before. There's not really much known about the true meaning of the track, but obviously, as you can hear, according to the lyrics, it's a breakup track, especially with the opening lyric.
Don't you know I'm no good for you?
However, I personally think that this song is a snap song, a song where somebody has finally snapped and accepted that everything hasn't been going well for them. And to prove my point is the ending of Wish You Were Gay, where everything starts pitching down. That could be Billie's emotional health and mental health declining, and she's finally accepting that things aren't going well the way they were, and she's trying to say things like she's not good for the people that she's with. It may sound ridiculous, but it's just some more food for thought. She's then trying to hide her emotional pain by Anyway, so Billie's then trying to hide her emotional pain by saying that she likes it the way it's at now. In fact, to me, the title, When the Party's Over, could be yet another callback to xanny, as xanny was Billie going to a party and having her friends become completely different people. And it would turn out that one of those people was somebody that she was interested in. None of this is really coming from the Genius article because there really isn't much about the song on the article, other than the fact that the backing track, where they say, "Call Me Back," wasn't in the original live performance of the song. And that the line before that,
Call me friend, but keep me closer,
is a twist on the saying, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer," which likely originated in the 1974 film The Godfather Part 2.
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
And while the music video isn't really something people could relate, I mean, I don't understand how you can relate to somebody crying black tears or crying black liquid, but what can be relatable is the lyrics. As somebody that had to move away from their friends because they were living in a pretty terrible city, and as somebody who can genuinely understand heartbreak, this music is something I can relate to, which is something that's very difficult to find in a lot of other songs. I can't relate to a multi-millionaire mansion-living hip-hop artist, but I could genuinely relate to a teenager that listens to the Beatles and Frank Sinatra. A lot of the stuff that Billie goes through is stuff I can understand, which is something that's never really happened to me in an artist before. And that's exactly why I love the music that she releases. It's because I can genuinely understand and relate to it, which has never happened to me before. And I think When the Party's Over was a gateway to that. A gateway to understandability, a gateway to relatability, and a gateway to being happy that a person like her is now taking over the music industry. And I really hope she stays that way for a long time. Before I can even get into the song 8, I want to tell you about its interesting history. When the song was first revealed a while back, it was originally given the name See-Through. In fact, there's even an entire Genius page dedicated to it. And according to the James Corden Carpool Karaoke episode, there was a marker board that showed the original track listing before 7 exclamation points was added on there. And as it turns out, the song was going to be called, well, 7. Pretty interesting how a song needed to have 2 title changes. Now this song's meaning is one I've never really heard before, and that the song is in the perspective of a person that she hurt. Yes, there have been a plethora of songs where they're talking about people that they hurt before, but the way that Billie is addressing it here, I've never really heard before. And speaking of hearing, nice segue, let's discuss the audio effects that they put on this song. Mainly the voice pitch changing.
Wait a minute, let me finish, I know you.
As you heard from that example, it sounds like Billie is inhaling helium, but as it turns out, it's just her voice in a lower pitch. And to prove this, I edited the pitch a bit to make it as close to the original as possible.
Wait a minute, let me finish, I know you
She also records parts with her regular voice, so it's this weird mix between a high-pitched voice, a regular voice, and even sometimes a lower voice. And the last song I know of that does that is a semi-well-known song called The Ruler of Everything by Tally Hall. They do that same kind of audio effect here. Alright, back to the track. So yeah, this song is about somebody that Billie hurt, and in an interview she said, quote, "When people hear that song, they're like, oh, poor baby Billie, she's so hurt. But really, I was just a dickhead for a minute, and the only way I could deal with it was to stop and put myself in that person's place." Which is something a lot of people should focus on if they're going to be talking to people. If you hurt that person, you should probably be in their shoes if you want to understand how they felt. Even I had to learn this at times. Now, the Genius page doesn't have any notes about the lyrics, so I'm going to have to create some myself, so this is going to be really fun. In the opening lyrics, she's trying to explain to her friend about how bad she felt hurting them. And the phrase, "wore my heart out like a chain," could be based on the idiom, "wear your heart out on a sleeve," which means to make yourself vulnerable and expose your true emotions. So here, Billie is exposing her heart, but instead of putting it on her sleeve, she's putting it on her chain, and now it's gone because she exposed it too much. And in the chorus, she's telling her friend that she needs to go because she did way too much. And she's questioning them if they felt anything after what she did. And this part, as well as the song in general, could genuinely relate to people. I myself included, as I've accidentally hurt people before without even knowing, and I felt bad about it. Whether that's being in a bad state of mind or just being rude in general without even thinking about it, I've hurt people and I felt really bad about it, and the only thing I could do at that point was to just leave the conversation. And that's exactly what Billie's doing here. So yeah, all in all, this is a really great concept for a song, and it just goes to show that not everybody's perfect. If they made a mistake that wasn't really that big of a problem to begin with, forgive them. Alright, next song. My Strange Addiction is one of the more upbeat songs on the album, along the same line of Bad Guy and You Should See Me in a Crown. And before we could say even a single thing about the song, let's discuss the opening. If you've heard this song before, you probably know what I'm talking about, where that little dialogue between two characters. Those audio clips came from the classic TBS show The Office, specifically the special movie episode Threat Level Midnight.
Hit G9 on the jukebox.
No, Billie. I haven't done that dance since my wife died.
This isn't just about you anymore. There's a whole crowd of people out there who need to learn how to do the scarn.
I really like the audio clips here. It adds a lot more to the atmosphere of the song, to be honest. Alright, let's get back to the song. So, as you could probably tell by the title, My Strange Addiction could be possibly named after the TLC documentary series of the same name. And if some of you have never watched this show before, My Strange Addiction is a show about multiple people having different types of addictions or weird compulsive behaviors that they cannot control. So maybe what Billie's My Strange Addiction is about her being constantly obsessed with a guy so much to the point where it's almost becoming a full-blown compulsive behavior and she needs to be treated for it. Hence why she also says in the song, "My doctors can explain my symptoms are the pain." There really isn't much to say about this song other than the fact that it sounds a little bit more traditional compared to anything else I've heard on this album before. Like, you could probably switch out the instruments and stuff and it would sound like something a different artist would have made, which is incredibly rare when it comes to Billie's music. Alrighty, on to the lyrics.
To be talking to you, belladonna.
This is an incredibly clever metaphor of the drug belladonna. If you've never heard this drug before, this is one of the few drugs that's used as a sleeping aid. However, it is incredibly dangerous as it's not only toxic, but has a ton of harsh side effects to it. And while somebody can be addicted to sleeping aids, but they could still be dangerous, Billie is still addicted to this person regardless of how toxic they are.
Should've taken a break, not an Oxford comma.
To quote the Genius page, the Oxford comma or serial comma comes before the and or in a series, acting as a break between the last and second to last items in a list. Billie uses grammar as a metaphor to say that she should have stopped to take a break instead of adding another thing to her list. Okay, how the f does she come up with this stuff? Like, Jesus, this is clever.
I'm the powder, you're the fuse. Just add some friction.
This is an incredibly risque metaphor, depicting Billie as the gunpowder and the person being the fuse. Lighting up gunpowder with a fuse obviously causes an explosion, so there's probably something that's going on with Billie that's yet to be discussed. And I do not want to get into it here because I need to pay for my shit, you know.
And it burns like a gin and I like it.
This is just a simple expression on how alcoholic drinks can cause a burning sensation in your throat when you drink it.
Put your lips on my skin and you might ignite it.
This is probably just a simple callback to the "I'm the powder, you're the fuse" line. I don't really have much else to say about the lyrics other than the last line of the bridge.
You could kiss my skin like you're my mother.
If there's one thing that Billie is really good at is playing with words. She's obviously trying to make it sound like she's telling people to kiss her ass, which is really funny at a first listen. And it also shows that the Billie in this album is not giving a fuck and is doing whatever she wants. This could also be a callback to her interview in 2007 where she said, "Everyone is gonna die and no one's gonna remember you, so fuck it." So she's not having a care in the world and is doing whatever she wants. Yeah, unfortunately there wasn't really much to say about this track, but my god is it catchy. Oh god, we are 10 tracks in. Oh boy. Alright, what track is next? Oh boy. This is gonna be fun. I know there wasn't really much to talk about with the past few songs, but oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about with Bury a Friend. This was one of the last singles to be released before the album got released, being released sometime around January of 2019. And I cannot lie when saying that this is the scariest song off of the album. The song is written from the perspective of Billie's monster that lives under her bed, and the confusing relationship she has with this entity. Nobody knows where it came from, nobody knows what its name is or its origin, but she knows about it and she is willing to question about it. I also think the track's title, Bury a Friend, is a reference to how Billie lost a lot of friends throughout her life, as in her friends passing away. And that raw emotion of her losing those friends definitely showed throughout her tracks. I also think the track is based around the style of Babadook. In fact, even on the Amazon Music listings for all the tracks, Bury a Friend has the Babadook on it. So let's begin with the opening, with this dude talking.
Billie.
That's the voice of London-based SoundCloud rapper Mecky Rain. As Billie and Phineas were working on the song, they thought it would be perfect to have somebody saying Billie at the opening. And I think Mecky was definitely the best choice considering how deep his voice is. So, we immediately began the song with the chorus, and man, it is wonderfully crafted.
What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me?
So yeah, this chorus already is showing that we are in the perspective of this monster. They're asking the listener what they want from them and why they're not running from them. Another little detail I really like about the lyrics is that Billie designed it around a constant run of woes. As in, what do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering? What do you know? Why aren't you scared of me? Why do you care for me? When we all fall asleep, where do we go? And yes, as you just heard that, the album's title came from this track. That's something I'm noticing from a lot of artists, where they take a certain lyric from one of their songs and then make that the album's title. Panic at the Disco has done this, Greta Van Fleet has done this, but there are still artists that like to turn track titles into the names of albums. Michael Jackson was one of them, and even Lizzo did that with 'Cause I Love You. Sorry for not showing the actual album art, it's just I don't want that little yellow dollar sign coming after me. Alright, let's dig into the verse.
Say it, spit it out, what is it exactly? Your pain is the amount cleaning you out, am I satisfactory?
She's discussing about the listener's lack of words as to seeing this monster. The monster knows that you're terrified about it, and they are willing to do anything to exploit it.
Like I wanna jump, like I wanna end me.
This is where Billie reveals that she is the monster. I mean, to be fair, we already kind of knew that because of the music video, but still.
Bury a friend. I wanna end me. I wanna end me.
She is now her worst enemy, and she wants to take out her own life to stop it. That's probably the darkest line I've heard from this album, if you ask me. But to be fair, we are talking about the artist that said in an interview, "We're all sad as hell. All these artists were sad as shit, dude."
Then my limbs are frozen, my eyes won't close.
This is where the theme of sleep paralysis begins. Now, I know I've already talked about sleep paralysis, but I don't think I've really explained it, so now's the time for me to explain it. Sleep paralysis most often occurs in people who have narcolepsy or sleep apnea, but it can affect anyone. Episodes involve not being able to speak or move while falling asleep or upon waking. This usually lasts 1 or 2 minutes, and is often frightening. The person will be able to know their surroundings, but they cannot move at all and they cannot call for anybody, hence the paralysis part, as if they're pretty much just paralyzed. Nobody would be able to understand it unless they actually had it, and Billie was one of those that have had sleep paralysis before. Billie explained that in a video from November 2018 that she had experienced sleep paralysis while sleeping in the car. I tried to look around and my head wouldn't move, and I kept moving my arm, but my arm wouldn't fucking move. And I did what your brain tells your legs to do, but that shit did not move. So I was like, shit, this is fucked. So I tried to scream, Mom, and I couldn't yell. It was the scariest shit of my life. Also, I didn't know what sleep paralysis was, so I was like, I'm dying, this is it, bro, I'm gone, bye. I didn't even get to say my goodbyes to all the people I love. So yeah, simply put, that shit is terrifying.
The debt I owe, gotta sell my soul.
I don't really know what this lyric means, but I'm assuming it's a hint of Billie trying to sell her soul to the devil so she could continue living on. Or maybe it wasn't a smart idea for this person to know about the monster, so she needs to pay the price for it. Alright, now let's move on to the instrumental side of things. The beat that this song is signed to is called a shuffle beat, and although it's not a new beat, I'm really happy with the choice of them using it, as it creates a much more terrifying sound than any other beat. The opening is also where the bass and what I think are organs start to kick in. Well, they sound like organs, I don't actually know what they are. But what I do know are the sources for the random sound effects. Throughout the track, you hear this random person screaming. I think it's either a woman screaming or it sounds like a crow screaming. But whatever the case is, it's a nice touch for them to add that to the song. Same for this little drilling sound that you hear throughout the track. That sound was recorded by Billie herself when she was going to the dentist. To think that an everyday sound can sound so terrifying, but boy, do I love the creativity of that. So as you're listening to the track, and as soon as Billie gets to the I Wanna End Me part, you then hear this giant bass coming in. And that heavy bass is the driving point for the pre-chorus, which is like a collage of a bunch of terrifying sounds, and it's frightening. This is definitely a little callback to xanny, because even xanny did that sound at times. The amount of chills that I had down my spine when I first heard the track cannot be explained. And looking back, I think that was definitely for the best because it shows the mystery behind this track. It definitely sounds like something that you would hear from an abandoned, haunted mental hospital. Like, imagine if this was put onto some kind of mystery tape, like a tape that came from nowhere, no source, and you put it into that mental hospital. That would be a terrifying experience, and nobody would know where it came from. Simply put, Bury Your Friend is a terrifyingly amazing song that was very well crafted, had some amazing lyrics, and was definitely one of the deepest tracks from the album. Ilomilo goes back to Billie discussing her friends or her loved ones and how she wants to connect with them again. She is afraid to lose them again. It's simply put a track about the fear of separation. And if some of you haven't caught on to it yet, the track name Ilomilo references the puzzle game Ilomilo that was released in 2010. In the game, you play as both Ilo and Milo, and you have to go through a series of puzzles in order to unite them once again. It's a really cute idea for a game, but unfortunately, the game series hasn't gone anywhere. It's still an Xbox 360 exclusive, and there is no other ports for it on the PC or on the Switch or anything. This is also where more of the Wizards of Waverly Place influences start to kick in, as this definitely sounds like something you would hear from Wizards of Waverly Place. Unfortunately, there's literally nothing available on the Genius page about this track. There's only like a few couple of notes and that's it. But I think I could be able to crack the code on what these lyrics are about.
Told you not to worry, but maybe that's a lie.
This lyric could be about how Billie was telling her loved ones that everything's okay, but as it turns out that could have been a lie, and now she's probably forcefully separated from them. And she's then telling them to stay inside, I'm assuming, for safety.
Not to get too close to stars, they're never gonna give you love like ours.
This could be a reference to how stars are seen as a great symbol of love, and that she knows the stars are not going to give them the same amount of love as either her or her family members. She then questions where they are in the chorus and then says,
I can't lose another life.
That line could refer to the death of a sprite or character in a video game, and that losing all of your lives results in a game over. And that would definitely make sense, as this track is based off of a video game, Ilomilo. But that lyric could also be referring to not bearing to lose another person in their life, which she has brought up numerous times throughout the album.
The friends I've had to bury.
This is a reference to the previous song, Bury a Friend, and that losing those loved ones are terrifying her and she stays up all night thinking about it, or she's probably going through a sleep paralysis phase where she probably sees them and is terrified about them.
If you're gonna die, not by mistake.
This is yet again another reference to the previous track, Xanny, with the line, I can't afford to love someone who isn't dying by mistake in Silver Lake. She's still never going to love someone who isn't dying naturally, and is just going to be abusing drugs and drinking alcohol and all that stuff in order to do it. And in the bridge, I tried not to upset you, let you rescue me the day I met you, I just wanted to protect you, but now I'll never get to, could definitely be based on how Billie is really upset that she couldn't help those people or see them again after they had lost them. Understandably, that is really terrifying to think about. As for the instrumental side of things, we go back to a little kick drum just like in Bury a Friend, but this time in a different beat. We also hear this neat little synth going up and down throughout the track, as well as synths and even music boxes kicking in. Now when I first heard this track, I remember hearing the downbeat on a different part of the song, and to explain it to you, here's a video I created demonstrating it a while back. I don't know if that's a fault of me trying to remember the song or that's a fault of the song's design, but whatever the case is, that I think it's really nice they added that there, as it definitely brings a lot to the imagination. So yeah, I'm definitely happy with this track's existence. It has a great story, it's a great reference to a very interesting video game that I really hope comes to the Switch someday. I mean, come on, now's the perfect time to do it. The things I'm going to say when it comes to this track are not going to give it any kind of justice whatsoever. Listen Before I Go is a song about somebody who is getting ready to their own life by off of a building, and that she is warning her lover to hurry up and listen to her before she, passes on. It was speculated that the song was going to be called Listen, but Billie later shared on an Instagram comment stating that it is going to be called Listen Before I Go. This song may show a depressing life of Billie's, but in actuality, the song is just an artifact of her songwriting process. And also, according to Billie herself, the song is supposed to be about awareness when it comes to those kind of actions. It's supposed to be more of an uplifting thing for people that have dealt with those thoughts in the past and that they know they are not alone. And to be honest, this is a better song about awareness than 1-800-273-8255 by Logic. And if you're wondering what that number is, that's the number for the prevention hotline. Now I'm gonna warn you, these lyrics are really dark, so if you've had those kind of thoughts in the past or if you're suffering from depression, please click off of this video while you are ahead. Trust me, these lyrics are going to be pretty triggering, and I'm saying that in an unironic fashion.
Take me to the rooftop.
In this opening lyric, Billie's saying that she wants to be escorted to the rooftop so she can see the world one last time before either she makes the decision to her life or continue living. And turning blue is an idiom used to describe a body and how they are turning blue, changing color, symbolizing that they're not breathing.
Tell me love is endless.
In this lyric, Billie is asking the listener, her love interest, not to attach too much importance to the phrase love is endless, and to say it anyways because her life is about to In her mind, the person speaking to her could be lying for all she knows, but it doesn't matter because they won't be held accountable for the lie when she's gone. This ties in well to the next line, leave me like you do. Because the love interest could simply say that their love is endless and leave her after her without consequences of saying it, therefore Billie is telling them not to be so pretentious and just say it. Oh, just you wait, it keeps getting deeper. Love is endless in itself could be viewed as a pretentious statement because Billie's love interest will likely find someone else after her passing, therefore making her love with the person, in fact, not endless. This interpretation presents a paradox that could serve as a metaphor to describe the next phase of Billie's passing. And in the previous line, Billie described how she would first stop breathing and turn blue. The next sequence of her passing could be mental incapacitation, in which she would not be able to understand that the statement she made is, in fact, contradictory. Jesus. This is where she starts telling the lover to please hurry up and listen to her before she leaves this world without saying a thing. It shows how powerful a passing can be because all of the things that they've had, all the secrets they've kept, are now going to be kept like that forever because she is no longer living on this planet. And in the next lines, sorry can't save you now, sorry I don't know how, sorry there's no way out but down, is a lyric that has a double meaning, both discussing an impending breakup and an impending
feel so scattered.
In this line, Billie may be confused with her emotions and unsure about her choice. Her thoughts are scattered. This line may also hold another, more literal interpretation, as Billie's use of the word scattered provides a dark nod at the state of a body after off a building, an act that is repeatedly hinted at throughout the song. This lyric, along with the siren sound effects that you hear throughout the track, could imply that Billie has already made that decision and that ambulance is coming to try to keep her alive. And in the final lyrics,
call my friends and tell them.
She is telling those around her to call her friends so that way they'll know that she is going to be moving on and that she is sorry for her decision and that she loves them and is going to miss them. Being sorry is a motif that is referenced throughout the song. The sorry mentioned here by Billie depicts two opposing images that are distinguished by the lines, but I'm not sorry and sorry. Billie juxtaposes the two sets of lyrics. The first set references feeling depressed and ultimately and being unapologetic about having committed to oneself. And while both sets mention calling one's friends and expressing last remarks of love, the first set represents an explanation while the second set represents the attempt itself. As for the instrumental side of things, you get to hear a bunch of synthesizers as well as mainly a piano and orchestra going on. There's also moments on the track where you hear gusts of wind being blown. This could represent her off of the building and the wind is flowing through her body. And also throughout some parts of the track, you hear this big bass kicking in, similar to Bury a Friend and Xanny. My theory on those parts are either one, this is the act of her doing it and that bass is her hitting the floor, or two, these are unfortunate moments of her having a memory breakdown where you have tons of flashbacks about the person that you were with and your heart begins to immediately sink. As somebody that has experienced that before, it hurts. Trust me when I say it hurts. And at the final part of the song, you hear one less giant thump, and that could actually be Billie hitting the floor, with the ambulance sounds and people screaming to prove that. Listen Before I Go is a very well-crafted song discussing awareness and telling those that they are not alone when it comes to dealing with bad moments of life. I Love You is one of the last tracks to discuss love, specifically the struggles and feelings from a complicated relationship. This was one of the few songs where Billie confirmed the track number it was going to be on before it got kicked back with the 7 exclamation points being on there. And this is also, according to Billie, one of her most favorite tracks to work on for the album. And also coming in at 4 minutes and 52 seconds, nearly 5 minutes long, it is, as of today, the longest song in Billie's discography. Again, unfortunately, there isn't much that goes on with it on the Genius page, but I can come up with my own personal theories.
It's not true.
In the opening lyric, Billie discusses about how traumatizing their relationship is and wishing it was not true, and that she is not the kind of person to let someone see right through, which could be a little reference to 8, where she was pulling her heart out on a chain and now it's gone because she exposed it too much. So I could see some correlation there. She then wishes things could go back to the way they were before they started being in a relationship, before he accidentally says, "I love you." The one thing I really like about the song is the chorus.
Maybe want to take it back.
The fact that the notes are going up, building up to this climactic ending to the chorus, it just feels amazing. And it should be, as that melody somewhat samples the Leonard Cohen song, Hallelujah.
Well, it goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing.
It shows that not all relationships last, and this one was created by mistake. As for the only noted lyric that is put onto the Genius page,
on another red eye.
A red-eye is a late or overnight flight. In the background of these lines, you can hear a flight attendant giving the flight safety speech to passengers. According to Billie's brother Phineas, who co-wrote and produced the song, their family used to take red-eyes all the time. Billie explains that she wishes her relationship had never gotten off the ground in the first place, like a plane taking off on a runway. She may also be alluding to spending the night crying over the one she loves, causing her eyes to become red. Phineas also referenced the red eyes in his own May 2019 track, I Lost a Friend.
The smile that you gave me even when you felt like dying.
This could be a reference that her loved one is also dealing with thoughts, and that he was trying to smile in order to make Billie happy, even though he was in a very dark moment in his life.
I'm in your arms in Central Park.
This lyric could either be referencing the Central Park in Manhattan, New York, or the Central Park in California City, California. Both of them would probably make sense considering that Billie flies all the time, and considering that they already just talked about a red-eye flight, she probably took a flight from California to New York, especially when considering that California and New York are on the complete opposite sides of the US map. And the California one would also make sense considering that Billie lived in, well, California. It was her home state. And in the final lyrics of the track, Billie explains that she cannot escape the way that she loves this person. She's now fully committed to this relationship no matter what. She doesn't want to, but she's going to do it anyway because she can't help it. In short, I Love You is a song that shows the true messiness that love can bring to somebody. Heartbreaks can nearly kill people. Cheating could probably cause some people to get killed. And finding new love after a breakup just feels wrong, even though it's supposed to be the right thing to do. It just goes to show that you cannot mess with love. Even though it can be a great thing to live with at times, it's still something that is so difficult, it's probably not even worth it, and causes some people to be confused on their life and everything. If anybody that is listening to this right now and is in a relationship, be sure to love your partner for as long as you can. If both of you are giving each other much respect, and if both of you are giving each other as much love and attention as you can, keep doing it. Because one day you might accidentally slip up and it causes a whole train wreck of incidents. So please, love yourself, love your friends, love your family, and love your partners. Because Lord knows how long you are going to be with them. Goodbye is the final track on the album When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? And if you haven't noticed it by now, the last 3 songs are supposed to be read like a sentence. Listen before I go, I love you, and goodbye. And no, this isn't some kind of coincidence. Billie herself has proven that it was supposed to be like that. In an interview, Billie had stated that she hates it when albums just abruptly end with a last track. I don't like when albums just end, she explained. I don't like when a song just ends an album and then nothing feels like it's actually over. I really wanted something to feel like a finish line, to feel like a period at the end, you know? So what did Billie do? Well, she decided to create a song that combines all of the previous songs combined minus 7 exclamation points. So the idea was to have that "Please Don't Leave Me" be right at the beginning, and then basically the rest of the song is every single song on the album, starting from the bottom to the top. And then when it gets to the top, it just kind of dies down and it feels like a goodbye. It almost feels like an RIP. So from bottom to top, "It's Not True" comes from "I Love You," "Take Me to the Rooftop" comes from "Listen Before I Go," "Told You Not to Worry" comes from "Ilomilo," "What Do You Want From Me" comes from "Bury a Friend," "Don't Ask Questions" comes from "My Strange Addiction," "Wait a Minute" comes from "8," "Don't You Know I'm No Good For You" comes from "When the Party's Over," "Baby I Don't Feel So Good" comes from "Wish You Were Gay," and "All the Good Girls Go to Hell" comes from "All the Good Girls Go to Hell," "Bite My Tongue, Bite My Time" comes from "You Should See Me in a Crown," "What Is It About Them" comes from xanny, and lastly, "I'm the Bad Guy" comes from Bad Guy. In fact, the track's melody, yet again, comes from xanny. In fact, you can even hear a little bit of the "Please, Please Don't Leave Me Be" within the bridge section of xanny.
Please don't try to kiss me on your cigarette break.
So, this is it. All 14 tracks discussed and mostly copied from Genius. So what exactly is the conclusion? Why did I put all of my time into this? Why am I making you watch this? And why did I promote it so much? Well, here's the reason. Now, let me just warn you all immediately. This is just simply a theory. This is a theory that I have created with all of the evidence that I have been provided with when it came to this album. And I don't think this was Billie's main intent when it came to this album, but it makes it a whole lot interesting if you see it in this perspective. I have a theory that this album is discussing the life of a person that is going through so much in their time that they need to do stuff to kill the time, or they need to do stuff in order to live their normal life again. Bad Guy is the start of it, the birth of the person having fun with their friends. xanny comes along and ruins it, having them become completely different people and smoking into her face. She takes revenge on them and "You Should See Me in a Crown," and I'm guessing has even done something completely horrible to them in "All the Good Girls Go to Hell." She then tries to find new love in "Wish You Were Gay," and then completely snaps and becomes depressed in "When the Party's Over." She then accidentally hurts them and apologizes to them in 8. Then tries to have a party with them, realizing how terrible a person they are in "My Strange Addiction," and then afterward reject them and then tell them to kiss their ass and ask them about their motto. She then realizes she could get caught having the bodies of the certain people that she got revenge on in "You Should See Me in a Crown" and "All the Good Girls Go to Hell," and then becomes a monster and tries to hide them in "Bury a Friend." She then loses more loved ones in "Ilomilo," then tries to end her life in "Listen Before I Go," has flashbacks about what kind of life she could have had in "I Love You." In fact, I bet you she was taking that red-eye flight that she mentioned in that song in order to escape her emotions. And then lastly, her life coming all together in "Goodbye." The ending of "Listen Before I Go" could be the beginning of her trying to take out her life. In "I Love You," she probably could still be falling and wishing she had a much better life. And then that ending of "Goodbye," where everything starts to pitch bend down, could be her organs shutting down as she is preparing to live in the afterlife. And you know how I stated that she could have done something very horrible to her friends in "All the Good Girls"? Well, let's say that was indeed the truth that was going on within that secret story. And what if she made that decision from "Listen Before I Go" to "Goodbye" so she could be able to see those friends again as their regular selves in the afterlife? If this was the case, that would bring a whole other meaning to call my friends and tell them that I love them and I'll miss them in "Listen Before I Go." She's probably calling on to those friends that have passed on, and she's wishing that they could have stayed here way before xanny ever happened. It's probably long-term regret and pain. And I'm still holding on to that theory about "Goodbye" being her life flashing in front of her eyes because that is way too good to be ignored. I mean, think about it. If you've ever talked to somebody that has almost had their life taken away from them, they would immediately tell you that their life has probably flashed in front of their eyes once or twice before. In fact, the instrumental to "Goodbye" definitely sounds like some kind of gateway to heaven, especially with the flutes going on. It sounds so heavenly and majestic. Also, what if Bury a Friend was this character's midlife crisis or teenage crisis or whatever life crisis they're going through within this part? This is nearly somewhere midway throughout the album. This is the most terrifying song on the album, so there wouldn't be any surprise if this was considered the midlife crisis of the album. It's almost like you're being taken to heaven yourself. That could also explain the hell side of things in All the Good Girls, as Billie is legitimately seeing heaven and hell. So let me recap it, and let me put some emotional music, because why not? She starts to have friends and starts to have a little bit of fun with them in Bad Guy. She then realizes how terrible they are when they are at the party in Xanny. She then takes them out in both You Should See Me in a Crown and All the Good Girls Go to Hell. She tries to find new love in Wish She Were Gay. She starts to become more depressed after her life isn't going too well in When the Party's Over. She accidentally hurts that friend in 8. She tries to make up for them and goes to a party only for it to not go well in My Strange Addiction. She then tries to cover everything up and becomes a monster throughout Bury a Friend. She wishes she could be with them again in Ilomilo. She tries to take her life and jumps off of a building in Listen Before I Go. She then looks back on her life as she's falling, wishing things were different in I Love You. And lastly, in Goodbye, her life begins to flash in front of her eyes. And at the end, her organs begin to shut down and things begin to go silent. This character has now passed, and they hope they are in a much better place. Some people are going to probably ask me the question, who cares? And they're going to question why I spent so much time on this video. Well, to answer your question, I do. I care about this album, I care about Billie, I care about her music, and I care about the fact that she's in the music industry. She may not relate to a lot of people, and she may not be for certain people, but I really like her music. So much time and love is put into these songs, and they are created for the sake of being created rather than just being made for making money. She has such a big talent for music writing, and I love that. And the last artist I have spent so much time and money on and have given so much affection to was Michael Jackson. I am not kidding myself, and I'm not going crazy when saying that I am putting Billie on the same rank as Michael Jackson, the king of pop, who I still listen to religiously to this day. I cannot thank Billie and her brother Phineas enough for coming onto the music industry and bringing a lot more material to the table. Although a lot of people are going to probably rip you off, and a lot of people are going to probably have styled beats to your music, but it just goes to show how much of an influence you are to the community. And the fact that you are going to be the youngest artist to have a song be made for the James Bond movie says a lot about the both of you. I'm pretty sure they are not going to see this video, but if they do, I still want to thank the both of you for being a part of this industry, and I really hope you're able to keep this up for a long time. I heard you are going to be making a new album soon, and it's going to be in the works according to Billie, so I cannot wait for that when it comes out. In the meantime, we still have this album, we still have your EP, and we are going to be waiting patiently for new material to come. Thank you, Billie. Thank you, Phineas. I cannot see the music industry without the both of you, no matter what. Hello everybody, thank you all so much for watching this 1 hour special. I have spent so much time on this, I've never really done anything like this before, and I really hope you all enjoy it. I'm pretty sure YouTube is either going to demonetize this video or going to put copyright claims on it, but whatever the case, I'm still happy that this video even exists to begin with. I want to give a special thanks to Genius for being a main part of this video. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have most of this information. And I also want to thank YouTube for creating the series A Snippet into Billie's Mind for more information of these songs to be released. And so with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and the notification bell. I don't obviously make a lot of videos like this, but today was a very special time for me to do it. It was a very special case in a way. And if some of you want to support me even further, you can go over to my Ko-fi page, my Teespring page, as well as my YouTube membership page. Making videos like this is very time consuming, and most of the time YouTube is just going to demonetize it for no reason whatsoever. And there's probably going to be copyright claims on this, even though I'm using this stuff freely, and it falls under fair use as it's using it for educational and demonstrational purposes. So any kind of support would definitely help out a lot. And if some of you don't have the ability to do that, you are still supporting this channel anyway just by watching this stuff. But anyway, with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next and much more regular video. Bye!